Hello and welcome to a brand new Mind Mastery video. Today I'm going to talk about dissociation and what sort of steps we can take in order to manage it so that we can minimize this negative influence it has over our life. A while ago I've done the video on dissociation where I explained this coping mechanism, and just as a quick reminder, dissociation is this defense mechanism that we learn usually in childhood that enables us to cope with difficult situations. So it's based on splitting our mind and splitting our experience so that we can distance ourselves from very unpleasant and overwhelming emotions and also very difficult and challenging circumstances that we experience. So in my opinion, the most important thing that we need to do in order to cope with dissociation is to try to understand it and try to basically learn how to recognize when we dissociate. So if you don't know when you dissociate, it will be quite difficult and quite challenging to actually change it and to stay present and to stay connected with all aspects of your experience. So recognizing dissociation is this first and crucial step in trying to fix it and trying to control it or cope with it. Now, the way to do it is to learn as much as you can about dissociation, obviously. So what are the signs? What is your experience like when you are dissociated? How can you know that you dissociate? And at this point, it would be probably quite helpful to work with a therapist or to simply use some self-help resources that will help you to spot signs of dissociation, because usually dissociation it's not a permanent state. For some people, it might dominate the majority of their life or their experiences, but it's not something permanent. So what are the times when you are not dissociated? How is it? What's the experience like? That will be the second step. So try to be as descriptive as you can when you try to understand or explain your experience. So journaling could be helpful, or talking to other people could be helpful as well. But most importantly, try to be as descriptive as you can. So what's your experience like? What are you sensing? What are your feelings? What are your different emotions and reactions? What are your thoughts? And if you start doing it on a regular basis, you might be able to spot a pattern. So at some point, you might be able to see what are the triggers for the dissociation are, and what are the states that are free from dissociation like. So once you manage to find the states when you are not dissociated, how can you get back to the states? That would be a very good question. Now, the next quite important step in managing dissociation would be learning how to stay present. So this could be approached from two different perspectives, or two different methods if you like. One would be based on this external, or rather building this external mindfulness. So there is an exercise in cognitive behavioral therapy called anchoring, which is based on selecting specific objects in your environment, the same 2 or 3 objects that will remind you to stay present and focused on the external world. So you might want to pick an object that you use on a regular basis. You might want to choose an object that you carry in your pocket, perhaps. Any object that you are in touch with on the regular basis, so every day basically. Once you select this object, you need to work for a while to basically condition yourself to pay attention to the present moment each time you touch this object. So this is called anchoring again, and it's one of the ways of building this presence and staying in the present moment. Another way would be to simply meditate and learn to focus on your breath each time you are dissociated, for example, or each time you find yourself drifting away from the present moment. So simply focus on your breath for 5 minutes or 3 minutes even, and bring yourself back to this present moment. Observe your experience, observe your feelings and your thoughts, and simply let everything go in order to, calm your mind and develop this quality self-awareness that is needed in dissociation, because dissociation doesn't really like awareness. Dissociation is, in opposition to awareness, because it causes you to, space out and cut yourself off different elements of your experience, and we want to do the opposite. So the next step, once you are able to build this awareness and stay in the present moment, and you are able to understand when you are dissociating and when you are not, the the next step would be to become friends with your feelings and emotions. And for many people, it might seem quite challenging, especially because dissociation is precisely about detaching ourselves from our feelings. So, how can we learn how to process our feelings? How can we learn to stay with our feelings? One of the ways would be to, again, use mindfulness to pay attention to our own bodies and our own emotions and feelings and describe them. So there's no reason to evaluate them or judge them, whether they are good or bad, but to simply describe them by, for example, focusing on what sort of sensations are they causing in your body, what sort of triggers or causes they are, what sort of information there is to that particular feeling or emotion, what is it trying to tell you, what is it trying to motivate you to do, and basically allowing yourself to to stay with an emotion, stay with a feeling, and allow it to talk to you in a sense where you don't judge it, when you don't try to push it or do something about it, because there's no need to do anything about it in the first place. And the last step I find really important in managing dissociation is to simply learn how to care for yourself. Dissociation puts us away from our bodies, away from our emotional needs, and away from our physical needs. So we need to get back to our bodies. That's why we work on mindfulness and staying present and working with our emotions in the first place. But also this will allow us to tune into our needs and respond to our needs. So taking time to take care of yourself. For example, if you feel a particular emotion or feeling that compels you, that perhaps you are tired, perhaps you want to lie in bed, perhaps you want to go for a walk, perhaps you want to call a friend. You need to learn to distinguish all these different feelings because they communicate your needs. And listening to your needs or being attuned to your own needs will allow you to meet them. And once you are able to meet your needs, that's where all this well-being comes in, because that will allow you to, increase your mental health, increase your physical health, and general emotional well-being. So learning how to take care of yourself will take some practice and patience, especially for someone who dissociates on a regular basis. So try to be patient with yourself, try to be compassionate towards yourself. It's a long process, it's a long journey, but there is a way out of dissociation, and even if you fail at some point, the more you practice, the easier it's gonna be to get back to this present moment experience when you're attuned to your feelings and emotions and your own needs. So I hope you guys find it helpful. If you have any questions or comments, leave them just below the video. And if you're interested in private coaching, please send me a direct message. Thank you very much for watching. See you next time.